The evolution of the mind is a strange thing. You see, when we're in our youth, we depend on people. Then, as we start to age, around our mid to late teens, we become wholly independent and start to believe that we have seen things that nobody else has seen. We start to shun those around us, just as a natural discourse of growing up, part of passing through the various phases of life. Around the time that you reach your 30s, you start to revert, it seems, in some strange way. The time when this is most apparent in your life is when you're thinking about your parents and the way that you treated them and the way that they treated you. Now, I kind of have a little bit of both worlds on this because one of my parents is extraordinarily young. The other one is, well, a few years older than that, let's say. Now, I've always had a relationship with my father that was somewhat of an idolized relationship. But at the end of my teen years, as I was about to pass into my 20s, all of the weaknesses of my father started to become clear to me. He was a workaholic. He was an alcoholic. He was prone to addictive behavior. He had unusual attachments to things. He clearly came from an earlier generation than mine, and he instilled me with these strange values and respects for things that have no intrinsic purpose. Let's say intrinsic value. Such as the difference between the way you walk past an open door and a closed door. If you're walking past an open door, the door is open and you're allowed to look inside. If you see a closed door, you avert your gaze from it. Closed doors are not supposed to be looked at. Who comes up with this shit? Why is this important? The thing that my father used to talk about the most, that I remember, is he used to talk about the 3 justifications of man. The 3 things that give you purpose. The first thing was work. If a man does not work, he has no value whatsoever. He is, in fact, completely and utterly useless if he does not work. 2, family justifies a man. A man who has a family has a reason to live, has something he can, and in fact, must do. The third thing that would justify a man is the admiration of others. We do not exist in a self-contained atmosphere, but instead exist in a world that is intertwined with those around us. And therefore, whatever we must do, we must strive to do faster and better than those around us. Family, work, admiration. I don't know if the order matters, but those are the 3. He would say it over and over again. Well, maybe there's some wisdom to that, and maybe there isn't. I really haven't decided. He certainly made it sound important, and I certainly listened to it. I didn't fucking acknowledge it, because, well, if you were to look around me, you'd see that I pretty much suck at everything I do. I'm not a particularly good not a particularly good artist. I'm not a particularly good poet or writer. I take extraordinary value in my education and my intellectual endeavors, but that doesn't make them good. It just makes them a passion, and passion is what you make of it. Sometimes it makes you a better person to be passionate about something. Sometimes it drives you goddamn insane. I don't actually have a point with all of this. I just wanted to say it to remind myself of it, and if somebody out there finds some amount of pleasure in this idea, so be it. But let's break those down. By the way, I also have no family. Just throwing that out there. And maybe there's a reason for that. So, work. We strive to be the best at who we are. We strive to be better than those around us. That is what work is. It is the quest to be the best person that you can be, whether that is due to our physical adaptability? Maybe. Physical adaptabilities, or our mental prowess. Family. This one makes perfect sense, actually. Family is probably the most important thing in the world from a biological standpoint. Only 1% of us are born and grow up into a position where we have some ability to influence the world around us. The rest of us are just throwing the dice again. Replacement value, maybe. That's a really fucked up way of thinking about this. And before I dig myself any deeper of a grave, admiration. This is the part that I have the most trouble with, because I'm not sure how admiration is different from work. Who do you want to be admired by outside of your profession? I have no idea. So, maybe my father was a genius, maybe my father was a goddamn rambling fool. You decide. You help me decide. Which is it? Are these words of wisdom? Or are these the rants of an alcoholic, desperately trying to find a way to piece his life back together after 3 failed marriages? The only thing that was ever dependable in his life that I can recall was he always worked. Dusk till dawn. Or dawn till dusk. It all depended, I don't know. I think it was the job was done when it was done. Didn't matter how much time it took. And if you happen to be the Director of Environmental Services for the city of Edina, maybe that's what you need. That was 7 minutes of introspection at this point, so I'm going to call this quits. Thank you very much. Have a good day. At this point in time, my Kickstarter account is closed on my 3rd book. I ended a few dollars shy of my goal, but that's okay. That just means I need to fill out a couple extra query letters and make a few more phone calls to make up the difference. Once again, Dustin Fader, author of the book Red Twilight, signing off.